what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. It is Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Yes. February 13th, right before Valentine's Day in 2024. And we're here to recap the Super Bowl. Who is we? If this is your first time watching the show, well, my name is Kyle Smith. Thank you for joining us. I am joined by Adam Carlson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. I am a little sad that I won't be getting any crab rangoons on National Crab Rangoon Day, but what can you do?
I learned something new from you almost every week. I'm glad to know this fun fact about crab rangoon. And he is our local crab rangoon expert and enthusiast. So
I am a fan.
I believe him, and I like those as well. It's a good choice. On the screen to my left, in the top left corner, is Kyle West. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm ready to chit-chat a little bit of Vikings football. Not much news. I think we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. We'll probably talk about Kirk Cousins because we have to. We have to discuss the quarterback every single episode during the offseason. It's a requirement.
Yeah, let's dive into it. There was the Super Bowl 2 days ago. The week leading up, there was a lot of fun interaction during Radio Row and Media Week from all sorts of players and celebrities and even musicians. And I was fortunate enough to be there doing security for the Super Bowl. It was pretty fun. Fun time. Never been to Vegas before. I'll tell you all about that at the end of the show. But Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins were on several shows. And the big question we all know if you're a Vikings fan and you're watching is what's going to happen with Kirk Cousins? And we're patiently waiting to hear news about Justin Jefferson getting a contract extension. So
are we really not opening with Kirk Cousins dancing at the award show?
I'm trying not to talk about it because it was bad. It was really bad. It was corny, and I love him for how corny he is, but I avoided it like the plague until my sister-in-law said, "This is your quarterback?" And I was like, "That's my guy. Yeah, that's the one." It was tough to sit through, but you know what? For the Kirk Cousins brand, that is right on par. It's nothing we haven't seen before.
And for a guy coming off an Achilles injury, I know it wasn't like crazy dance or anything, but it was nice to see him moving around.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you're a Kirk Cousins fan and you want him back, you would see that the recovery is going well. He showed his scar off on the Pat McAfee show. It was pretty gnarly. It's crazy how, and you guys know this, we've been watching football for a long time. People used to take each other's heads off. Concussions were everywhere. When the CT discussion came in, then the safety became an emphasis. Now it's ACLs. This year, two very high-profile quarterbacks have Achilles injuries. And I don't know, maybe it's the age. You don't see that happening too often with the very young players. But it's nice, like you said, Adam, to see him moving around. I love the guy. I adore him. I love the cause that he was promoting on Pat McAfee for veterans. But let's talk about it, man. Kirk says he's got an agent, and they're going to do their job, and they're kind of just waiting on the Vikings. I don't suspect anything will happen. He even mentioned that probably not going to hear anything until at least March. So what do you guys think? Is the percentage that we're going to keep Kirk Cousins high, low, indifferent? What are you guys feeling right now?
I still go back and forth. It depends how I'm feeling today with my answer for what the Vikings are going to do with Kirk Cousins. Ask me tomorrow, and maybe I'll be watching some upcoming rookie quarterback and be like, we don't need Kirk. We can move on without him. Today, I feel like saying, they should probably bring him back. Don't you think?
I've been saying it all offseason.
This is going to be such a tough decision for the Vikings front office. I mean, they got to decide whether to pay a lot of money to bring Kirk back or whether they want to roll with an unknown or even dive into free agency and grab one of the not great options there.
Ryan Tannehill, Adam's pick.
Hey-o.
Free agency.
Oh, God, let's not do that.
Hey, they could always trade for Justin Fields, although from what I'm hearing, they won't trade Fields out of the conference, so or in the conference, so I guess that's not great if you're a Vikings fan that wants Fields in Minnesota.
I'm higher probably than most Viking fans on Justin Fields. He did end the year strong. I don't think that he had a great team until last year supporting him. I'm not sure that coach is a big offensive guru. I think Kevin O'Connell's better on that side of the ball. And we got to remember, the Vikings were very high on and attempting to draft Justin Fields. I think he fits the body type and the mobility factor of today's NFL, like coveted quarterback. Um, I wouldn't give up an arm and a leg for him, but if he came to Minnesota, I'm sure there's a price that the Bears would be okay with. But I also don't want the Bears to get richer because they have lots of compensation right now, and it looks like they're going to go get Caleb Williams. So I don't want to make them have even more ammo to get more playmakers because that'll put us at worst behind, but kind of close to where they are, and I'd like to be ahead of them as a team. I don't think that's an unfair take. I wouldn't be disappointed if the Vikings got Justin Fields, but much like any quarterback in this draft, it would have to be at the right price. I think that's the biggest question mark right now.
Right now, I'm a little excited to see if Minnesota can roll with a rookie quarterback. I'm ready to go on that ride.
Perfect segue because I'm going to piss off everyone in this fan base that listens to this show. Thomas Buge asks, over under the Vikings trading JJ. I am 1,000,000% for it. Will the Vikings do it? No, they won't. Justin Jefferson will be a Minnesota Viking. He will get paid lots of money, and I will be happy to watch him in purple. But if you were going to do it, this is the time to get a shitload of picks or 2 really good picks and a decent pick. I think it would be 2 firsts and maybe a third. I think that's reasonable. I think most teams would take it. For Justin Jefferson.
A first, a fourth, and Mac Jones.
Yeah, there we go. We'll take the mac and cheeseburger from New England. Good Lord. And the reason I say this, there's a reason behind it. Obviously, that would be fuel to jump up and get the quarterback that I covet, Drake May. I would love to see, like Adam said, them roll with a rookie quarterback. I have an interesting story about my flight yesterday that I'll get into later, but the Vikings have never picked a quarterback in the top 10. Now, they have had top 10 picks before, to name a more recent one, but that doesn't mean that they've been bad enough for so long where they have to be in that position. But this is just the cold, hard truth. If you're going to trade up to number 2 and get Drake May, you're going to have to give up a shitload of compensation. And right now, that compensation is future picks. How do you get that back right now? Every other team in the league, all 31 other teams would love to have Justin Jefferson. But like I said, hate me for saying it, I'm just thinking of the future and the gamble because, number 1, you need the compensation to get a quarterback. Number 2, this is not a popular opinion. Justin, I love you. I know you're going to say Minnesota. If you ever hear this, don't hate me. You're not winning the Super Bowl alone with Justin Jefferson. And you're not doing it with Kirk Cousins either. You haven't yet, and it's probably not going to happen. And I love Kirk. I've been up and down on him since he got here. That'll be the end of my spiel on it. But you need something else. And I think the formula right now to go do it is, if you pay Justin, you got to go get a young quarterback. That whole dynamic. That's going to lead to another segue. There's somebody said, I don't know if it's Tom Pelissero or whoever says, you're not keeping JJ, Hunter, and Cousins all together. Somebody's going to.
No. Yeah.
So money is holding the Vikings back a little bit on keeping some pieces that we all love. But I think I'm in like the 0.1% of fans that think I wouldn't hate it if he was gone. I would miss him, but
I'm kind of the same way on Danielle Hunter. I would love to have him back.
Yeah.
I would love it. He would be a great piece for this Vikings defense, but I just don't see Minnesota being able to come up with the money to match the other offers he's going to get. At this point in his career, I don't blame a player for chasing the money. I don't. Well, not one bit.
Right. And I still think Hunter feels, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe he feels a little underappreciated by the Vikings. I could potentially see him just wanting maybe that fresh start elsewhere in another organization. I could be way off the mark on that one, though.
Well, I agree with both of you. I think he's going to try to get paid as he should. He is 29 years old as of today. He will be 30 this coming season. Right now, I'm trying to look and see career earnings. I'm on spot.
And right now, the free agent edge rusher market is a lot of players less talented than him looking for a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
He thrived. It's weird, the year that Ed Donato left and then Brian Flores coming into last season, we said, put his hand in the dirt and let him chase the quarterback. And what happened when he did that? Great success happened.
That said, Marcus Davenport is probably not going to break the bank for any team.
Good riddance, man. Shout out to your agent and you for fleecing teams for money, but we don't need you back. All total in his career, Danielle Hunter, just by football, I don't know if he has any endorsements, has made $94.8 million, which is crazy.
I just assume every Vikings player has a deal with Sleep Number. I just assume that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
94.8 million. So that's great for him. But honestly, with the way the market was and up until 2 years ago, he started making $20 million a year. He was only making 10, 11, 13. He had 17 the first year he signed a big thing. He was underpaid. Let's just call it what it is. I agree with you, Adam. I don't know how the Vikings work it out with their voodoo magic on the cap, but he figures to be one of the ones, the chopping block there. But that also leads to another thing that I would say, and I'm not trying to spoil anything. I don't know if this is going to happen. But if he leaves, it's prime position at 11 to go get an edge rusher. I've seen the edge rusher out of Florida State mocked to the Vikings by like 4 people, and I would 1,000,000% be okay with that.
It's, that's what's interesting about this draft pick for the Vikings is that, like, sitting here as a fan, your heart tells you want to go after a quarterback because, like Adam said, you want that building block. You want that. Nothing's more exciting as a fan than drafting a shiny new quarterback, especially high in the first round. That gets everyone talking, everyone excited. The safe pick, and honestly, what they're probably going to do, like you said, you're not paying for all 3 guys. Who's the odd man out? It's probably Danielle Hunter. You're keeping Jefferson. You can talk yourself into Kirk. Danielle Hunter's probably odd man out in that situation. You're drafting a replacement defensive end for Hunter early. And if you're taking a quarterback, I think you're looking at that Teddy Bridgewater situation where you're trading back into the tail end of the first round. Maybe there's someone who's fallen, who's still sitting on the board that you believe in, that you want to jump in front of before day 2 starts and draft them kind of there at the tail end. I think that is maybe more likely than the Vikings going from, what do we have, the 11th pick? Oh my God, we made a trade from 11 all the way to 3, and we're going to grab someone with the 3rd pick. That's a lot of draft capital to give up. I mean, that's a lot of draft capital to give up.
If that's your guy, you will get him.
I 100% agree. I didn't mean to cut you off, Kyle. I wanted to keep
No, I mean, you're not wrong, but we say this all the time too, and it doesn't mean that it can't happen. But the history of this franchise tells us that doesn't feel like a Minnesota Vikings move, does it? Like, hey, we're all chips on the table and we're going in big time for a quarterback. It's just
This is our first opportunity though to see what Kwesi thinks about, or how much emphasis he places on the quarterback position rather than other spots around the team, because I know everybody's talking about who's going to be the next quarterback in Minnesota, but you kind of got to take another look and see that this team has more holes than just quarterback, and they're going to have a lot of needs that they need filled, especially on the defensive side of the ball this year, if not just to add talent and competition. I mean, they got starters they need.
I want to make 2 points for this. Number one, if you look at, I think, and I know I'm not saying anything that Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell don't know, but look at what the 49ers did. They go up high to get Trey Lance. He's a whiff. Let's call it what it is. He's a bust. Who cares? If you find someone that works, no matter where it is and what round, it works.
Do you see Lance is being linked to Minnesota again these days?
Of course he is. Why wouldn't he be?
I haven't seen that. Is he? Like,
yeah, it's back.
So there's that. That's funny. But you can't do, like, you got to go up and try. And I said this, just to spoil like a little fun thing. I sat next to the new Washington Commanders DBs coach yesterday on the flight. He was with the Raiders, so he has familiarity with the Vikings this year, but he was in Green Bay forever. And he's, we were talking ball for like the last 30 minutes until he landed. And he said, the same thing. I said, hey, would you agree with this? Because you work in the NFL. I said, each of these GMs and coaches are going to be tied to a quarterback. He goes, 100%. And that's make or break. He goes, the cool thing about this league is, he's like, even with your old coach getting a shot in Dallas, breaking news if you didn't know, Mike Zimmer is going to be the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, which is awesome.
Good hire. I think he'll do good.
And Sharif Floyd ran away as fast as he could.
Yeah, he's going to Washington as well, following Dan Quinn.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt again real quick.
Go ahead.
I didn't even know that Sharif Floyd was coaching in the NFL. Did you guys?
Yeah.
That was news to me. That's actually pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good point too. No matter how your career went, you can get a job coaching if you have like a pretty good profile in the league. No matter if you were a top pick or if you were a B+ player or whatever. But the cool thing about that is, even if Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi pick a quarterback and it whiffs, which the mathematics and probability say it probably will be, they'll get a shot again to coach. Maybe it's not a head coach, maybe Questy's not a GM, maybe he's a scout, maybe he's whatever, but you can go back in the league and still be involved because these guys obsess over football, which I love. But yeah, I think that they just have to take a swing. The other thing that I would be completely fine with, and I can't believe I'm saying this because this is no disrespect to Teddy. I don't think now looking back on it with clear eyes, he was going to be some Super Bowl winning, like game changing quarterback. He found a nice niche as a backup and cool story, like great person. But if they trade back in and go for a JJ McCarthy or a Bo Nix at the end of the first round, I'm 100% with it. I just don't want to see the Vikings go at 11 and be like, we've got to get a quarterback, which thankfully I don't feel that with this GM and this coach. I don't think they're going to be like, we have to give into the pressure and take whatever now. I think this is my bold prediction here in early February. They're going to take an edge rusher, a defensive tackle, or another corner. You should be prepared to be disappointed on draft day with not a flashy pick at number 11.
Here's my kind of warm take. The worst thing the Vikings could do this year is make the decision to run with a bridge quarterback. I don't want some other team's backup coming in and playing for 17 games in Minnesota just to end with a 6-win record and be like, okay, we're turning the roster around. Now we can look for our quarterback. No, go get your guy now. Get started now.
Adam wants them to be aggressive. I love it.
I agree, Adam, because there's two ways that plays out. You're middle of the pack and you end up where we're not bad enough to go get one of the top quarterbacks in the league where we're always kind of setting, or you're at that part of the circle that the Vikings are always in of the Case Keenum false prophet hope where you grab a guy for a year and you somehow win like 11 games because Brian Flores is an awesome defensive coordinator.
Do you want 17 games of Nick Mullins?
Yeah. No,
if they stuck their foot in the ground and said, this is what we're doing, I would just brace for disappointment more than ever. Because with Kirk, I think they have a legitimate shot because things can go right. For everything until that playoff game 2 seasons ago, I mean, almost everything went right most of the time. Anything can happen. But, yeah, if they were like, hey, we're rolling with
Sam Darnold?
No, God, no, not Sam Darnold. Who's our rookie? Jaron Hall. We're rolling with Jaron Hall for 17 games. I'd be like, fuck it. We're going to have a top 6 pick, and I'm down for it. Let's go. And that's –
it would be so hard to get excited about that season. I would not want to watch that season. I would watch it, and I'd be like, okay, go Vikings, go get that win.
I mean,
would not expect that win.
We've done that. Adam, we've done that on this podcast when the Vikings were absolutely terrible, and you just find something to cheer for. Jared Allen going for the sack record comes to mind. That was an awful season, and the only thing that got us excited was how many times is Jared Allen going to sack the quarterback or Adrian Peterson on just terrible Vikings teams. Real quick before I forget and we get off subject. So everyone likes to bring up the 49ers and, hey, they got off from Trey Lance. So I think what gets lost in that is that the 49ers, they had a backup plan. Like, they had a young quarterback in Brock Purdy, okay?
Jimmy G.
And Jimmy G, okay? So you have to have a backup plan at your quarterback position. And the Vikings, for a while, haven't really done that. It's like, we got Kirk Cousins, and we're fine with
Sean Mannion
behind him. It's like, even if you're going to be aggressive and, hey, we're going to trade up and we're going to go for a young rookie quarterback, you still have to have those players in place behind him to where, hey, if you do fail and if you do have a Trey Lance situation, maybe you luck out and have a Brock Purdy that can step in and win you some games.
I have to echo one point of that too. Their roster's much better than ours.
Yeah.
And this is no disrespect. I think Brock Purdy played a great game in the Super Bowl. I think
the odds of finding a player like Brock Purdy or Tom Brady late in the draft, crazy.
Not only that, Adam, but think about if Brock Purdy ended up with Carolina. Do you think he's in the Super Bowl? Fuck no. It's not happening. And the same thing with the Vikings. I don't think this is a Super Bowl roster. I think they have some good, nice pieces. I don't think you have the complete team. And part of that team, like to your point, Kyle, is depth. The Vikings were cool for like 4 years with rolling with Sean Mannion as a backup. You are mailing it the fuck in when you're like, that's the guy in case Kirk goes down.
Yeah, you are really rolling the dice there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it. It's the same. That's a good point too. And it's another point to like, if the entire roster is just great and you've got a wizard working the cat and your depth works out and you got a great coach, you can go get a guy like Wes is talking about, Sam Darnold. If Brock Purdy went down, you would be surprised how good Sam Darnold looked with that system. I would put money on it. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he was dealt some shit situations. And I don't know. I don't think the Vikings roster is built that way to be like, hey, we'll just plug this guy in and we'll keep winning. Obviously, last year showed you that's not how it works,
Yeah.
So I don't know. Here's my other thing, too, just completely going sideways. David, one of my good buddies back home from Charlotte, he says Jaden Daniels. Tell me why and explain to me why Jaden Daniels, because I haven't done my research on it, but everything that I've heard that is negative says he played a bunch of cans in college and it's a lot of padded stats. And he's a little thin when I look at him, and I'm like, I don't want him to die when he gets
I like his
clobbered.
quicker decision making and his ability to elude pressure. That's what I like about him.
Nice. Yeah, I wanted to hear what you guys' thoughts were, because I'm in love with Drake May, mostly for the size and the body type, but I also watch him play because I'm a Carolina fan. I don't know. I know we're not getting Caleb Williams. That's fine. I don't know that I care to. I mean, he's the next Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, if you have Andy Reid.
No, we're falling into the McCarthy, Penix, Bo Nix area.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm out on Penix with the injuries. Nobody likes Bo Nix that I could hear, but I kind of like it. I don't. And I'll tell you right now, I think
not
JJ
even his
McCarthy,
mom likes him, according to Kyle Smith.
I don't like.
You don't like JJ?
I don't like JJ. I think he's the Brock Purdy of the college era. That team around him was wonderful, with the best coach in the game for the NCAA last year. Anybody's going to look good when you have gargoyles out here on both lines, killing people. I'm not impressed by that, but you know what I would be impressed if he was a Viking with? If he was a second-round pick. Cool. I'm good with it. I just don't want these kids being picked at 11 and
you
then
don't feel
having
good
another
investing a first-round pick in him is all you're saying, right?
Correct. And you know what helps with the point that I'm making here is when instead of taking J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix at 11, when you invest in another hopefully healthy version of
David, they're calling you out a little bit. You're not going to like that word. Those
almost
words.
Reminds me of Daniel Jones. I mean, yeah, maybe. Maybe I like the body type.
I know how you feel about Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I can't deal with Daniel Jones. What did he have that one season? 17 games. He had 15 passing touchdowns. But he also, I'll give Daniel Jones credit. He did not have I can't name you a wide receiver on the New York Giants. I can't.
Mario Manningham, is he still there?
The helmet catch. David Tyree. Good Lord. Yeah, I don't know any of the Giants.
Victor Cruz disappeared. I think he still exists somewhere. Not in football, but somewhere.
He was in Entourage once. That was cool.
But I remember right, he and Sidney Rice were both on the league.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I'm losing my train of thought. But yes, I can be talked into whomever. I think what I'm saying is if you go out and get a great defensive tackle or a great edge rusher, and then you can still get your quarterback later, you win. But when you go that early to get someone, that tells me you think, hey, this guy's going to change everything for us. That's a very high pick. And then if they don't change the game, why would you spend $30 on something when you can get it for 20?
I think I know where stop me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, if you trade up or even if you stick at 11 and say you draft Michael Penix, you're pretty much saying you're starting him this season, right? Like that's what you're expecting. Like if you draft a rookie quarterback that high, is that like they have to start now. Now, if you take a defensive tackle and if you trade back into the tail end of round 1 and draft Penix, that's more of a situation where you can go, we're retaining Kirk and Penix can sit for a year and we don't have to hinge everything on him immediately.
I don't think that mentality really exists in the NFL anymore. I don't think even being a number 1 overall pick guarantees that you're going to be a day 1 starter.
No?
The way the league is now, I think coaches are more than willing to sit a number 1 overall pick if they feel like they need more time to grow and develop behind a player that might be able to be a little bit more productive right now. And that's what I think is cool with the evolution of the league.
Also, Kyle, I know what you're saying, and I'm not disputing or arguing with you on it, but I don't care if you draft a kid 11 or whenever. You don't have to start him unless you don't have anyone else that could fit. Even if we didn't stick with Kirk, if they said, hey, I want this kid to develop, and right now Nick Mullins is ahead of him, fuck it. Nick Mullins in there. I'd be okay with it. I'm okay with a kid developing rather than throwing him into the fire, because I've seen so many times again, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I've seen so many times and again, people start these rookie quarterbacks and then their career does nothing because they didn't get to develop in time. I don't think you can fully learn the NFL no matter how good you are outside of one or two guys every 6 years, where you can just go to a couple of months of training camp and you're like, fuck it, it's just like college. No way.
If you trade up to 2 and you take Drake May and he looks like Nathan Peterman, you can't start him.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine. And you know what? It didn't work out, but I still agree with the logic. They traded up to 3 to the 49ers to get Trey Lance. He didn't start. I mean, they wanted to. They wanted to do these things, but making the quarterback comfortable is the most. And I love Kevin O'Connell because I know he'll make the quarterback feel great. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it is. I just think what you're talking about, Kyle, and I agree with this, is I think that's just the mindset. Is like, well, we give up the farm. It's like, yeah, but if the team's dog shit and he's not developed yet, let's not cause more damage than positivity.
You can get a little more leeway at other positions, but quarterback is the one that if you try to quarterback out there that isn't ready and he stinks up the joint, you are really gambling on hurting his future as far as his confidence and everything that rolls with that. So, I mean,
and a prime example is right here before you go, Kyle, right here. Where is it in the fucking chat? Somebody said something about Mac Jones. That happened. You remember he had one good season where he looked great, and then they put
Bailey Zappi?
No, Mac Jones.
Yeah, Billy Zappi was his backup that they plugged in.
No, I'm talking about Mac himself. Mac looked great for one season, and then the next season they put in Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator, as the offensive guy. What are you doing?
Yep, and they bench Mac Jones, and here comes in Bailey Zappi. Hi.
And then they ruin this kid. And I feel bad for him because I think he could do everything that he wanted to do. Like, he was like a Diet Kirk Cousins. He can run an offense. Of course. That game manager label. But when you do stuff like that and you don't set him up for success, I would hate to see that with a very young, like, rookie starting quarterback where it's just like, hair's on fire, go figure it out. Well, that's a very low probability that's going to work out for you.
So how much do you guys think that this Vikings staff would be able to hold firm if they retain Kirk and draft a rookie quarterback high and the season doesn't start off the way we expect? Let's say we start off 0-3, 0-4. And it doesn't have to be Kirk's fault. Let's say Kirk plays well, but we're still 0-3, 0-4, and you got that rookie quarterback. Is this staff confident enough to not give in to fan pressure to switch to a rookie quarterback? Or, do you think they cave to that kind of pressure, even if it's not Kirk's fault, and like try to put a rookie out before he's ready? Because that's a situation that would be very interesting to watch unfold if they retain Kirk and draft a rookie quarterback.
But that's one of the beautiful things about having a former quarterback as your head coach. He knows what if a player, he can probably look at a quarterback and be like, okay, he's ready to play. And if he knows his young guy is ready and Kirk isn't getting the results he wants or isn't playing up to the level he should, maybe then he'll make the switch, but I don't think it'll be based on the performance of a veteran that makes the decision as whether or not the rookie gets plugged in.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough, man. If you fall into a perfect situation, you could come in and look great. That's why I laugh, with the Caleb Williams stuff. They're like, oh, he's the next Mahomes. Is he? Is he going to the next Andy Reid? Is he going to arguably have the greatest tight end of all time? Top 3 tight end of all time? No. So why would that make him Mahomes? Isn't that one of the reasons Mahomes is so successful? Why do we not talk about this? Like, oh, well, I see the traits. Yeah, I saw the traits in X, Y, and Z quarterback, and they look like shit now or they're out of the league, Like, you have to go into a great situation. That's why I love the coach so much. I told this guy, his name's Jason Simmons, by the way. You can look him up. He's going to be the Commanders' new DB's coach. I said, hey, I can't believe that, after Tom Brady retired, we hear about the weekly meetings with Bill Belichick, defensive guru. And I think that's part of the reason Tom's game was elevated. You want to get into that argument about who was better? You don't think Bill Belichick taught Tom Brady how to pick apart defenses? I'd argue that all day long.
You don't think Mike Zimmer hung out with Kirk Cousins?
No, they never did. And I asked him that. I said, you ever remember hearing that? He goes, I coached in Green Bay for a while. He's like, you could see the beef between them from the other sideline. He goes, we are watching everything they're doing. He goes, you guys split with us most of the time with Aaron there, like 50-50 or maybe it was 60-40 us. but it was always competitive with Minnesota. Like at least one game, somebody was going to steal from you. And he's like, dude, you could see they did not like each other. He's like, we're looking at everything. We're looking to see if the O-line is gassed, if the D line is defeated, blah, blah, blah. He's like, those two didn't get along. So I know we don't have that with this coach now. But it's just funny. I keep hearing about he might be the next Patrick Mahomes. Bullshit.
And you always keep hearing with the next sure thing, And
yeah,
let's be honest with the next sure things. I like Trevor Lawrence, but so far he hasn't really moved the needle a ton as far as the NFL goes. If you don't bring him up when you're talking about good quarterbacks, odds are someone else probably isn't going to. And before that, the last great quarterback you heard, Andrew Luck can't miss. And yeah, he was. He was going to be a superstar, but then, his career didn't work out that way to where he could have a long career. So sure things aren't always sure.
Yeah. Like I said, too, you can't say, well, he could be the next Mahomes. Yeah, Mahomes didn't walk into the worst team in the league or one of the worst, He got drafted 11th, kind of where we're at. And who's to, look, I can't believe it, too. Mitch Trubisky got released by the Steelers. He was taken ahead of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, you can trade it for a Mahomes. You can trade it for a Trubisky. Who knows what you're going to get?
You never know. It's crazy. Well,
all
with
depends
that
on what
said,
name's on that card.
Yeah, and that situation you go to, we can't emphasize that enough. I want to go on a rant before we talk about the Super Bowl. I am sick of hearing this, and
Taylor Swift?
No, I'd love it. Do it more to piss off all the old white guys. Like, I can't believe Taylor Swift, blah, blah, blah. It's like, why does this upset you? It's weird. Can we stop the Mahomes and Brady thing? I'm okay with the comparing the two, but can we stop saying Brady beat Mahomes twice? Brady didn't play Mahomes. Mahomes doesn't play defensive end, linebacker, safety, corner, defensive tackle. Like, this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. Well, he's 0-2 against Brady. No, he's not. He's 0-2 against the Patriots and the Bucs defense. When did we become so small-brained as a society to be like, quarterbacks play each other head-to-head? No, they fucking do not. Stop saying this.
That's not as marketable. You got to market it.
I don't care about marketing, obviously, because I'm over here yelling on a podcast on YouTube, and these guys have a TV network about it. But God, it irritates me every time I see that. I'm like, you're taking away the credit from like this game. I love this Super Bowl more than I've loved many Super Bowls in the past.
It was a fun game.
The defenses were on point, so good the whole game. And you're taking away credit from guys like Steve Spagnuolo or whomever the defensive coordinator was for Tampa Bay at the time or New England at the time. You just want to give it to the quarterbacks. Like, he doesn't play defense, dude. Patrick Mahomes is running for his life. How many yards did they say in that Tampa Bay, Kansas City Super Bowl that he ran for, like, behind the line of scrimmage or just before he made a pass? It was like hundreds of yards he was running for his life. Tom Brady had nothing to do with that. Tom Brady runs like a giraffe. Like, he's not out there chasing him. I hate that. I want to put that to rest. That's so dumb.
And here's my Super Bowl hot take. If Greenlaw doesn't get injured trying to get on the field, 49ers win that Super Bowl.
It's a good possibility.
Ooh.
What a freak accident. Oh, that's terrible. I watched it from my phone. I was not in the stadium. I couldn't believe that happened. And now he's going to have a longer recovery because of it, because it's middle of February. But, yeah, I could see that take. Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, as we transition to talking about this game, the one rule that we've known all along, but you have to echo now, the Chiefs are in a dynasty right now. I've seen that a lot on all the major networks. We can't deny that. They're, 3 out of the last 5 years they've won a Super Bowl. But you can't give Patrick Mahomes the ball at the end of the game. Stop fucking doing that.
Yeah, don't
take
do
a
it.
second here, dude, because raise your hand if you knew the overtime rules of that Super Bowl.
Some of the other players did not.
I did not know the rules were different.
I didn't know they played a full game. Once the clock ran out, it had to go into like second overtime. I didn't realize that went to the second quarter.
It makes sense. They wouldn't just do like an unlimited time limit. But that series, the 49ers, they're like, hey, we want the ball. Cool. You don't score any points on it. You got to be better than that. You can't. At least if you go down and kick a field goal, you can live with the fact that you said, hey, we put points on the board of some kind.
I understand want to take the ball points and put pressure on the other team to score, but you're also giving them an opportunity to have like a fourth down where they have to convert. You're giving them 4 downs compared to 3, essentially. because they're not going to punt if they're behind.
Yeah, you're giving Patrick Mahomes an extra down every single time.
So taking the
not
ball
good.
there, if you don't know the rules, I think they might have made a big mistake there.
And shout out to Andy Reid. Patrick Mahomes, up until that point, he had a mistake at interception. They weren't flowing.
The 49ers players said they had no idea about the overtime rules, and the Chiefs players said, we've been talking about this for weeks. We know exactly how this goes.
That's a great point, too. And shout out to the end. Patrick Mahomes does his magic. Travis Kelce turns it on when they need it the most. And that play call at the very end to win the game was genius. And, yeah, we're witnessing.
Would Kadarius Toney have caught that pass?
Who was the other guy that was wide open on one of them, but he was just like forcing the ball to Kelce? Who was the other guy? Number 4, was it Rashee Rice? Is that his name?
I think so.
Yeah, he was having some words like, dude, we could have ended the game right here. What are you doing?
But could you imagine if Kansas City had like a Justin Jefferson or a Jordan Addison or something like that? I know that the receivers they have aren't terrible,
right?
But I mean, you'd think with a quarterback as good as Mahomes that he could elevate these average to somewhat average wide receivers, and it just goes to show that having a quarterback to elevate talent isn't always a thing that really happens.
I think too. I think out of all the Super Bowls that they've won, this would be 3 now in the last 5 years. I think this is the most impressive just for that reason. They lose Tyreek Hill 2 years ago. He's doing great in Miami. They had to rely on the defense. That's the first thing Andy Reid says. Like, how about that D? Like, hey, good for you, man. Offensive guru, and Mahomes is Mahomes. But I think this is the most impressive because you got to think, what was the whole narrative going into the playoffs? Well, the Chiefs look beatable this year. They don't have a number 1 receiver, and then they have to go on the road. Well, what do? They beat Miami pretty easily at home, and then they go on the road 3 games. Even though, it's a neutral site, you go on the road. You beat Buffalo. I had no faith in them beating Baltimore. I thought Baltimore was going to squeak in because this was supposedly the year that you could beat the Chiefs. Not happening. Right. And obviously they do what they do against the Niners. And I think the Niners played a great game. They just had a couple mistakes that really hurt them. But, man.
For a while there, I was kind of worried because I liked Ray McCloud a lot. I wanted him to come to Minnesota and be their punt return guy. And when they had that, when they said that, he muffed that punt and they went back and looked and McLeod actually saw the ball hit off that other player's on his team's leg, and he was just trying to pick it up. I'm like, okay, that makes sense now. Because McLeod isn't that kind of player that would make that kind of mistake usually. That's why I was kind of confused by that. I've been writing some articles over on the Viking Age about free agents that played in the Super Bowl that I thought Minnesota could be interested in, and Ray McLeod is like such a player that nobody really talks about just because he's not really an offensive weapon. Basically a special teams guy, but when he was getting a little bit of slack for that play there on that punt return, I was happy to see that it wasn't on him.
Yeah, he was going at people on Twitter too about that. He was getting pissed off. Oh man. So yeah, the Chiefs win their 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years. They had the 1 loss to the Brady and the Bucks, but they beat the Niners a couple years ago. They beat the Eagles
Jerick McKinnon gets another ring.
Jerick McKinnon's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. It's a lot of frustration here to see for our generation seeing the what was it? I can't remember the stat. When Tom Brady was in the league, it was him, Peyton, or Big Ben most of the years on the AFC. There was you only had 3 choices. They were so good. They were in the Super Bowl always. And now it feels like that way too, which sucks too because the AFC is loaded with quarterback talent. Compared to the NFC, it's a lot more one-sided. And these poor guys have to play them every year. And you just got to I feel horrible for the 49ers. I felt really bad for them. But I also feel, God, if you're sick to your stomach, if you're Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, you're like, Jesus, man, we're never going to beat this team.
If you're the 49ers right now, pretend you're the 49ers GM. What the hell do you even do in the offseason to make that team any better than what it currently is while still retaining the pieces and parts that you're going to lose in free agency? What do you do? I have no idea what the 49ers, like what's their path forward to win that game? And if you're the Chiefs, just talk about having the luxury of probably your pick of free agents who want to come here because they're already talking about a three-peat, which, by the way, I love that. That's very 90s Chicago Bulls of them to go out there and be like, yeah, we're going to three-peat. I think that's great. But they should have their pick of free agents. Why wouldn't you want to go take less money to go have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? Why wouldn't you do that if you're a free agent?
Well, Dalvin Cook tried that in Baltimore.
Well, true.
It's funny too. This is kind of a side story. I had a lot of fun this week. I talked to, if you remember, the running back for the Patriots, most notably Rex Burkhead. His dad is a security guy in the NFL for Dallas, and he was called up to help out with the Super Bowl. And I talked to him. I said, "Big, tall, white guy, bald head. Your name is Rex Burkhead, or Rick, and your son was Rex." I was like, "Are you Rex Burkhead's dad?" "Sure am." And I said the same thing. Rex Burkhead was about to be a Chicago Bear for a lot more money than he made in New England. But when you get the chance to go play with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, you're like, cool. And it turns out that was the right decision. Super Bowl champ, same year with Cordero Patterson, and arguably the worst Super Bowl I've ever seen. But they did it. So, yeah, that seems like New England 2.0 right now. Now, I don't think they're going to be the same when Andy Reid and or Travis Kelce retire, but it just doesn't feel like they're going to do that this year. Why would you when this was supposedly your down year and you still win the whole damn thing? Andy Reid could go out with 4 or 5 rings. Who knows? Mahomes, if they three-peat, I'm not saying he's better than Brady because he's not, but that certainly is Mount Rushmore worthy quarterback play and quality to be like, what? We've never seen this before. It's wild, you know? Also, I love that the city of Philadelphia let him go. Good for him going and winning multiple Super Bowls somewhere else. Just another little fuck you to that horrible city. Thank you very much.
People this year just seem to be hating on anything in the Super Bowl. I mean, whether this is rigged or I'm tired of seeing Taylor Swift or why is everybody all up on Jason Kelce? I mean, let people do their thing. Let people have fun.
I thought it was a fun Super Bowl. It was really entertaining. It was 2 very evenly matched teams. It was an exciting second half of football, and the overtime was a lot of fun too. And I didn't mind. They didn't go overboard with the Taylor Swift coverage.
No.
The early on the league definitely did, but they toned it down.
West had to be happy seeing Ice Spice all the time.
Sure.
I'm keeping up with that joke. That you're into Ice Spice.
Sure, we can do that. The halftime performance was not for me.
It was fine.
I did not care, but a lot of work went into it. I was really impressed by the overall, performance aspect of it.
I gotta admit something that I probably shouldn't on here. I thought Jermaine Dupri was CeeLo Green.
I kind of did too at first.
I know the reason you're saying that. Oh my goodness. Yep. Okay, that's hilarious.
But I was real happy to see Ludacris. I love Ludacris.
You really wanted CeeLo Green to do that Thursday Night Football song.
Hey ho, football.
Yeah. I'll add that to the soundboard.
My heart still goes out. Alicia Keys, Jesus Christ, she's so fucking talented.
How does she still look so amazing?
You know what? I think I read this a while back. She doesn't wear makeup at all anymore. Maybe she had a little bit on for this, but she made it a point not to do that. She's taking care of herself, and I love her music. I know she's pretty and all that, but I'm not going to be that guy that just talks all about look. She's an amazing singer, and I was like, shit, I forgot they did that song together. That's awesome. I figured they would have Little John and.
A lot of people sad that Justin Bieber wasn't a part of it, and I guess he was in Vegas. I was fine that he wasn't part of it.
Smith, I think you'll agree with me on this. I have conceded to the fact that the NFL is never going to do the music I like as a halftime show, so I don't get worked up or care anymore when it's like, oh, I don't like Usher, but that's what they're doing, so whatever. It doesn't bother me. They're not going to do a Foo Fighters / Metallica halftime show where I'm like, holy shit, that's fucking badass. And
Well,
The
they can't
closest-
play live music at the Super Bowl anyway,
Yeah.
so I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. One of the guys I talked to on my post said that Jay-Z had came in because he was an IT guy, the big fella I talked to up there, and he's like, they came in and changed all the speakers because apparently the acoustics in that stadium suck. One of the police officers I was posted with one day said that Garth Brooks was the first show inside Allegiant Stadium. Garth, where are the bodies? Shout out to your mom's house.
Are you sure it wasn't Chris Gaines?
Yeah, right. But he said that he went, and by the fourth,
Thank you for bringing that up, by the way. That's amazing.
he's a fucking serial killer, man.
Uh-huh.
He is. I can't. If you don't know this reference, go and YouTube it. Your mom's house, Garth Brooks. Please. That guy is so fucking weird. He is weird.
Did you see the clip of someone who was at one of his concerts and had that wrote on a sign? And
that was one of their guys from the show.
Yeah. And like
they sent him in and they put it up and they immediately cut away. They're like, oh shit, they made it up on the big screen.
It's so good. Oh.
But apparently they brought in a bunch of new speakers for this because I guess it just isn't designed. They didn't think that out for the acoustics or whatever. That's not the main purpose of that stadium, obviously.
But we should talk about how excellent the pre-show stuff was for Reba McEntire, and even Post Malone sounded great.
Oh, absolutely. I love
Post Malone.
He's so talented.
He can actually sing, and a lot of people don't know that.
He is. I know. He is a really good singer.
Right.
I wish he'd do more of that. He's a really talented musician.
I'm partial because I do like country music, like the good country music. He's done some really fun stuff. If I ever had to get someone who hates country to listen to a few country songs, go on YouTube and listen to his two covers. He did a cover of Sturgill Simpson and he did a cover of Brad Paisley. And he has, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dwight Yoakam. He's an old country singer, but he's been in a few movies. He has his band with him. I think that was his band. And it's so good. And it's so weird because he looks like, and I'm sorry, if he would let me make a joke about him and understand that it's a joke, and I have mad respect for him and I'm a fan, but he looks like a bathroom stall at a gas station, like just fucking graffiti everywhere. Every time I see him,
he earned my respect during COVID because I'm like you. I thought, oh, he looks like one of the 800 SoundCloud mumble rappers that are here for 15 minutes of fame. I don't give a shit about him. During COVID was the first time I paid attention to him because he did a live Nirvana set where he did like Heart-Shaped Box and a couple other covers that he did. And holy shit, like this guy can actually sing and do multiple genres of music. Like that's actual talent. I agree with you. It's too bad he's got shitty face tattoos, but if it makes him happy, I'm old now, so I guess I don't have to get it.
He used to have the dad bod like I'm rocking now, but he lost like 40 pounds. He was on Joe Rogan talking about it. He quit drinking soda, and he's like, I eat this and I fast and all that. And he looks fantastic now. Very healthy. But yeah, you're right. Those are great. They've been knocking it out. They're doing more of like, this is a whole event type deal, but I enjoyed it. Vegas was fun. I didn't do any gambling.
Did you see how dead the crowd was like outside the stadium for the pre-show there with No Doubt and Gwen Stefani?
Oh, I didn't know they were playing.
Oh, it was dead.
Oh, that's sad. I was on the opposite end. If you looked at Vegas from the sky, I was next to the MGM. There's an actual vehicle bridge that they completely shut down for entry. And there was a massive sea of people trying to get in. And the amount of people that these ticket checkers and the security up there with the metal detectors turned away was hilarious. People would have fake tickets that they had found on the internet that were told they were work, and then they don't scan and they have to just leave. Oh, so funny.
Well, I was seeing like the average ticket price to get in there was like what, $7,000 or something like that.
Oh, it's too much. I'll tell you, this is a good reference, and I'm not flexing here. I'm just telling you what I saw based on where I was placed, because I have no say in where I was put each day. I was at the entry gate number 1 at the end of the other end of the bridge. Like the stadium is across the interstate from me. I saw Hardy. If you don't listen to country music, he's written, I can't tell you how many number 1 songs for guys like Morgan Wallen or Ernest, whatever. Saw him
played at a wrestling event and he was really bad.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. He was there walking in with his one security guy and his girlfriend. Pauly Shore, and this is the regular gate for everyone. And then Vince Vaughn. I talked to Vince Vaughn for 3 seconds, and that was awesome. And I was sad. I was like, oh, God, he must have shitty seats because all the celebrities they were showing on the pre-show were there like 3 hours early just getting hammered. So, yeah, that's hilarious.
If I could talk to Vince Vaughn for 3 seconds, it would be about Anchorman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you were great in Anchorman.
I told him,
That's what I would
get this
say.
all the time. I was like, oh my God, Vince. He's like, big fan. He's like, hey, how are you? Thanks for what you're doing. What's your name? I was like, I'm Kyle. And so this is my dog, Harry. I was like, I know you get it all the time. I was like, every week or with my best friends. It's like Wedding Crashers, top 3. It's the most quotable movie, in my opinion, ever. And he's like, that's a good one. He's like, everybody always says Dodgeball. And I was like, no, Dodgeball's great. Don't get me wrong. I love Dodgeball. But Wedding
All right, I got to
Crashers is
run,
my
guys.
go-to.
So you guys will probably be finishing up without me. So I'll catch you guys later.
Awesome. Thank you,
Sounds
Adam.
good, man.
We'll wrap it up here soon. You can dodge a wrench, but can you dodge a ball?
It's classic, man.
I
always say
Anchorman is that movie for me that I can just quote the shit out of Anchorman.
Anchorman is wonderful. I want to go back and watch these. They're better when you have company over, but I might watch them myself.
They're better when you're half a bottle of wine deep into them. Just like watching Vikings football, it's better when you're half a bottle of wine deep into the game. I think we pretty well took care of all the news. We talked about Mike Zimmer getting an opportunity down there in Dallas, right?
Yep, he'll be the new defensive coordinator for Dallas. It's weird to think that Mike McCarthy and Mike Zimmer will be on the same staff after they battled each other for like 8 years, Green Bay, Minnesota. But I think that's a great hire. I'm so happy that he's back in the league to finally get.
I am too. He, on a personal level, he's had some shit happen to him that sucks. So just him being able to fall back on football is, I think, good for Mike Zimmer. And I've said this all along. I really do think I don't know where their defense ranked last year, but they'll have a top 10, top 5 defense underneath Mike
they
Zimmer,
have the talent,
right?
for sure. They have the talent for sure. If Trevon Diggs comes back to form, and I think they have Stephon Gilmore, he's a cornerbacks coach. He won the Super Bowl with the Cowboys, or 2 maybe, as a DB coach. If they have strong corners and a good pass rush, that defense is going to be unreal. And you're not even talking about Micah Parsons. Like, I know he rushes the passer, but he's still a linebacker. Like, you got good edge rushers and corners, you're pretty well covered. He's going to have fun because they have pieces already in place. He's not being brought in like Brian Flores to get the best out of some subpar or younger pieces. They have a ton. So I agree.
He, as a defensive coordinator, as a head coach, no, I don't want Mike Zimmer as my head coach. As a D coordinator, and I still really do believe in the system that he runs. It's a solid system.
Double A gap blitz.
Yeah, the double A gap blitz. And the further we get away from his time in Minnesota, I look back a little more fondly at it. We speculated that was something that might happen as well too. And I do think that that it takes 2 people for a situation to go as shitty as what it did in Minnesota. But Rick Spielman was just as much at fault for how all that went down as what Mike Zimmer was. And with Zimmer, I mean, we've all had coworkers or bosses who were crab asses, like what Mike Zimmer is as well too. And if you are a crab ass and you egg him on, like, you're going to make that situation worse. And that's what Rick Spielman did. So he, as the above him in the chain of command, he needed to work harder to be the bigger man and to make that situation work in Minnesota. So I don't know. I wish it would have turned out better for Zimmer, but happy to see him.
The same thing, man. Like, he left with a very winning record. Mike Zimmer could have coached another year and lost every game, and he would have.
I don't remember the exact. The exact record was what, 74, 75 to 50 some.
Well, that's what I was saying. If he would have stayed another year and we didn't win a game, he would have ended his Vikings career at 500. He was a whole season above. Say what you want, but we were consistently on the good half side of teams rather than bad. I do think his flaw was his demeanor, which is, that's the old school representation of the older community of life. I mean, they come from hard times, and I think he should have had meetings with Cousins. That would have mended a lot of bridges. That was his fault. I think that's his one major flaw. But to an extent, like, I understand why these coaches nowadays handle players differently and more caring and more soft, if you want to say the rude thing. I don't think any NFL player is soft. They would take my fucking head off. The kicker would take my head off. But to say that, oh, well, the league's gotten soft. No, the league has gotten compassionate, which I don't think is a bad thing. You know, taking player safety into concern and talking to a quarterback.
We care about concussions now. Like,
which is a good thing.
And I bet if you asked Mike Zimmer off the record, he'd be like, fucking concussions don't exist, because he's that old school coach, right?
I forget what his name was. They just had him on one of the shows. Was talking about how bad Caleb Williams. He's like, I don't think he's special at all, which is hilarious. But he was one of the guys who was like, I don't believe in CTE. And I'm like, have you seen Antonio Brown and Chandler Jones? Because they're walking proof. But for Mike Zimmer, I love, to a point, like I said, I can lean both ways to say, okay, I like the fact that kids nowadays, the younger kids generation, ask questions, because if they don't understand something, you don't just yell at them and tell them to do it. They want to understand why, and they're not doing why because they're challenging your authority. Like, your parents used to get pissed. You and I come from that generation where your parents would chase you with a belt and beat your ass. Like, that's how it was for me when I just wanted to understand the whole system. Now coaches will answer that. But I also do see Mike Zimmer's point when he goes, you get paid millions of fucking dollars to do football for a living.
And I also, when you're as highly paid as what Kirk Cousins was, and Zimmer is like, I am a defensive coach. I was brought in. I'm assuming he told them, the defense is going to be my baby. I'm going to run this side of the game. That's what I'm going to manage. I kind of get why he would be like, it is hashtag not my job to babysit Kirk Cousins. You're getting paid a lot of money, like you said, to be a professional. Come in and you do your job. I'll do my job. I really don't need to talk to you. I kind of get it.
I get it. I guess my only pushback is, if you want to be great, you got to put that shit aside, much like Brady and Bill Belichick did. Because imagine if there's something Kirk doesn't see or whatever like that, and then Zimmer can help him do that. Because I do think he's one of the better defensive coaches in the league.
There was that moment on the sideline during the Super Bowl where Travis Kelce butted up with Andy Reid, and it kind of got a little blown out of proportion. And it was very reminiscent of Mike Zimmer and Kirk Cousins going at one another. But you could tell the difference, because Andy Reid, after the game, when he was asked about it, was like, no, that's our relationship. This happens all the time. He's very passionate. It's okay. It's no big deal. When it was Zimmer and Cousins, I still to this day feel like Zimmer was ready to throw down.
He was ready to join the Royal Rumble and have his number called, dude.
Yeah, like
well, not only that too, but to your point, Kyle, guess what? When you win the fucking Super Bowl, nobody cares because you won. Even if, and when that happened, I was like, bro, you do not put your hands on national treasure, cheeseburger, Andy Reid. And then they win the game, and you're like, doesn't matter, you're a winner. Couldn't care less.
People give them a lot of shit for that too. But people want two things at once. The reason why your elite players are elite is because of that fire that you've seen from him in that moment where he's like, I want the fucking ball because I'm an elite playmaker and I want to win this game. And as fans, we're usually not privy to those moments. We don't see them. All that we see is, oh, he scored a touchdown and he handed the ball to the referee. Look how good of a sport he's being right now. You don't see all the fire that goes into all those moments that build that. And that's what makes great players great. That's the difference between Randy Moss, not the only difference, but a Randy Moss and a Nate Burleson. Nate was brought in to be his replacement. Randy Moss wants those balls in those big moments, and he's got that fire and that drive to want to do it.
Not only that, like I've spoken to this twice on the show. This will be the third time, but you don't think Brady and Belichick yelled at each other? Brady has yelled at Belichick before, and then the greatest thing I heard, minus the impression of Bill Belichick from Julian Edelman, was he did not give a fuck what your status was. He would yell at Brady in practice after he's won multiple Super Bowls, and that's what you got to do. You got to hold each other accountable, and whatever it was, as much as I didn't like it in the moment, it worked because they ended up winning the game, and something had to change because they were down. They only scored like a field goal at halftime, right? It was like 10-3 at halftime.
Yeah.
Dude, you're the Kansas City Chiefs with
okay,
Mahomes
so-
and Kelsey.
Here's an interesting thing that I thought during the game. Travis Kelce is all fired up. I want the ball. I want to go out there. I want to be an elite playmaker. The other star tight end, and I know he was banged up during the game, so I'm not going to hold it completely against him. Where was George Kittle? Where was George Kittle on the sideline?
It's a
Where
shout
was
out
his
to the
fire?
defenses, man. It really is.
I
That
know.
defense for Kansas City is so underrated. And we're talking about it in here. They have Chris Jones, probably the best defensive tackle in the league now with Aaron Donald kind of getting older. Also, dude, I got to tell you a guy who's not talked about enough. I think his name is Nick Bolton. I think he's their safety, their linebacker. The guy that would have had 2 defensive return touchdowns in last year's Super Bowl, had not one that got called back. That dude is a stud. And then their corners, McDuffie and Snead, they are fucking amazing. Like, that defense is really good. And that's weird to say because when you think of Reed and Mahomes, you're like, oh, it's Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. You're like, no, we don't. That's not what we're doing this year. We're gonna win a completely different way. And they figured it out. They broke the football code because they weren't supposed to win this year. They were supposed to be really good, but they weren't supposed to beat Buffalo. Buffalo was on like a 6-game winning streak, and they were at home. You weren't supposed to beat Baltimore. Baltimore had the best record in the entire league, and they beat them by scoring like what, 17 points? Like, I hate saying it, but this is their best Super Bowl of the 3. And last year's was fun to watch. Score. But this, like, mathematically and like chess game kind of stuff, I loved this game because I was like,
yeah,
dude, they're doing everything right.
This game was a lot of fun, and it was 2 very evenly matched football teams.
That's very well said.
That's what made it a lot of fun, is that it wasn't a big blowout where one team is just, they're twice as good as who they're playing.
Because you'll see it in some games where like last year, my favorite game obviously was the 49er game where we beat the 49ers. The throw to Addison after he had the ball ripped away and he ripped it out of the same guy's hands and scored a touchdown. There was no broken plays like that. Yeah, Mahomes had like one bomb to the right side of the field, but there was no like 40-yard Christian McCaffrey run. There was no the returns on special teams. There was
big George Kittle play.
Right. There was no bomb plays. This was like, hey, we're going to grind this shit out, and whoever makes a mistake, you're going to end up losing because of it. And I don't know. Shout out. It was fun. I got to go to Vegas. I did all my corny stuff. I took a picture in front of the Vegas sign. I was in front of the stadium a couple times.
Yeah, it looked like you had a lot of fun. I enjoyed seeing your photos of the trip. It was very cool.
I love my job. I'm glad I got an opportunity to do that. If I could go to New Orleans next year.
Where the hell were you that you had the draft card that you got?
So this is cool as shit, right? If you go to the Super Bowl experience, I got to tell everybody this because you will love the parody that is. Younger me would have said like tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, whatever. So you go to the Super Bowl experience. It was so fan catered. It was unreal. You could stand in a long line like an amusement park to attempt a field goal, to do 3 passes against other people. It was crazy. I tore my labrum in my hip. I'm not kicking anything, and I can't throw naturally anyways. I am trash. So I'm not running a 40 and throwing a football. I'm just not doing that anymore. But I did go with my friend, shout out Donnie. He's one of my coworkers in Charlotte. He got picked to go too. We both stood in line, and we figured I'm going to make this reference because it is funny and it is absolutely accurate. This is live action role playing for sports fans. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of grown men that are just like obsessed in wearing their outfits of what they love. And I'm like, are we the guys that dress up like the Lord of the Rings or the Revolutionary War right now? Yeah.
So fantasy football is Dungeons and Dragons for
100%
sports nerds.
So we get into the draft experience and we keep seeing these things and it goes quick. It's like 30 seconds a person. You get all the way up to the thing. They're like, hey, what's your name? Kyle Smith. Cool. Who's drafting you today? The Minnesota Vikings. What college were you going to say? And I was going to do the Jared Allen thing where I said the Culinary Academy, but I ended up going with Carolina because I got a North Carolina tattoo. They're my favorite. They're like, what position are you getting picked to be for the Vikings? And I said long snapper. And I got up there and there was some confusion. And the guy's like, I'm from Minnesota. I like the Vikings. Like, you said long snapper? And I was like, I bet you nobody said long snapper today. He's like, nobody has said long snapper today. I was like, all pro, baby. So that was cool. Yeah, like I said, I took the cliche pictures. I worked at the 49ers hotel twice, and one being the day before game day. And
So you're the
I can't
reason why
tell
they
you-
lost.
Oh, no. They got their sleep. They got their sleep. We turned away 5 people total who were trying to get into the hotel for the dumbest, like we're stupid. These 3 old ladies came up. I'm going to be rude as shit right now, but it's whatever. These 3 old ladies came up, sauced up, took an Uber. They're decked out in 49ers gear. These ladies were like 50 or older. And they're like, hey, we're here for the dinner. I said, what dinner? They're like, oh, at the hotel. I said, cool. Do you have a wristband? Well, no, but there's a restaurant in the hotel. It's like, I'm very aware there's a restaurant in the hotel. If you can't see by the 80 fucking people out here doing security, 3 dogs and cops and the giant vehicle barrier that doesn't allow vehicles to go in, that we're kind of in the middle of something important. And they're like, yeah, well, we just wanted to eat at the restaurant and have a drink. We're like, yeah, you're not coming in here because you don't have a pass to get in. And they go, are you sure we can't? I'm like, I'm very positive we can't. And then they just walked away out of this long, winding driveway at the hotel. And I just laughed. I was like, they really thought they were out having brunch and they were drinking and it's Super Bowl week. And they're like, we found out where the 49ers hotel is. We're going to go get in. No, you're not.
Why would you? I mean, I know there's no thought process. Why would you show up in 49ers fan gear if you're trying
That's the thing that I said. That's the first thing
Yeah.
I said as they were walking away. I was like, they didn't realize we know what you're giving the answer away with your outfit.
Yeah.
You're not going to go talk to Nick Bosa. George Kittle doesn't want to have a drink with you. Like, it's fine. I got to talk to the players. I'm telling you right now, that whole staff is amazing. I talked to George Kittle. I talked to Trent Williams. I talked to Charvarius Ward. I talked to Joey Bosa, Chargers brother of Nick Bosa. He talked to me for like 3 minutes. He was like, I love these dogs. He goes, this is amazing. He says, you guys
That's
are wonderful. And it was like, these guys are so nice. And you know what it was? Everybody was coming out the night of, and they were getting stuff delivered, like tuxes to wear out. They had laundry delivered that they had sent out for cleaning, or Uber Eats and DoorDash. I can't tell you how many of those we had to like set on a table outside because we're like, yeah, you're not going to the hotel entrance. You're going to set that right here. So it was hilarious, but that was the 49ers one.
Yeah, dude, I
never
even thought of that. If you were crazy, you could be like, oh, yeah, I'm Uber Eats, but I have a.
And I'll tell you this, too, not to give away the NFL security plan, but we had many bodies outside and a barrier system and everything's locked down. And we have a list. Like, if you're not on the list or a player or coach doesn't come and vouch for you, you are not getting in. That was the 49ers hotel. And I was like, this shit is locked down like the White House. The Chiefs hotel was almost twice that. I can tell you that from the guys that worked over there. They're like,
I'm sure
Kelsey, Mahomes, Reed.
Mahomes is the face of the league. Right now, I mean, as soon as Brady retired, Mahomes is the face of the league. So yeah, I'm sure they've got massive security around that. You know, it's funny, and we're apples to oranges comparison here. We're talking about the Super Bowl versus training camp, but when training camp was in Mankato, when it was at Mankato State where the Vikings would go, where I went 10 years in a row, we went to that. They had we know why they built their own facility, because they had such a problem with security because it was on a college campus. And so you're trying to shuffle the players from the field to a locker room, from the locker room to a meeting room, but they couldn't shut down the college campus. And so they could shut down small portions of it, Smith, but they couldn't stop people from being, in the public spaces that there are on the college campus. So you could hang out between buildings, between the different zones that they had blocked off, and you'd just run into players all the time. We ran into Greg Jennings.
Oh, wow.
Going between meetings. Just like, oh, hey, there's Greg Jennings. Hey, Greg, you want to come over? We got some. And that was when I went with my friend Mike and Paul, and their 2 kids were, 7, 8 years old. So that was great because all the players would come over to be nice to the kids. And then we could mooch off them and be like, while you're here, let me get a photo or an autograph or something with you too. But so you meet all kinds of players that way. But it was the same thing with security, where people would try to get into where they were having meetings and they would try to camp out, and you'd feel bad for the one security guard that was probably a volunteer trying to tell 75 Vikings fans, no, you can't go into this building right now.
I can tell you from going to the practice facility, you ain't getting in that shit. You're not getting
Yeah.
in the TCO. Was it TCO Performance Center? You are not getting in there. That shit is locked down. And even if you got over the gate and, jump the gate or whatever, you're not getting in the building. So good luck.
Teddy Bridgewater, real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Teddy Bridgewater's rookie year, they had a temporary fence that they put up to kind of like keep the fans a little separated from the players when they went from the field to where they would dress. And Teddy came over to sign autographs for fans, and so many people mobbed the fence fell over. They caved the fence down. And Teddy, Teddy had to like step back, and then like all the big time security came out and like had to stop people, and because people were like fucking mobbing the players out there. It was nuts.
They had that when I went to Washington when Kirk was still there and RG3. This is how long ago this was. When Deshaun Jackson came out. Dude,
Yeah.
Every girl out there was like, clean up on aisle 6. They were ooh-gooing, blah, blah, blah. Like every woman screamed like it was a fucking Usher concert like the other day. And then he wasn't even the most. Like he was by far swarmed by all the females who came out. You should have seen the line, and he signed everybody's stuff. He was nice as could be. And he came to us first. He's like, oh, the military brought a bunch of people here. Like, let me go talk to them. I couldn't imagine like being in that era where they could just walk up to you because you'd never get to leave. And then if you don't sign something, oh, he's a dick. He's not a dick. He has a life and free time, and he wants to go home. Like, he just practiced out here, and he's sweaty, and he wants to go take a shower. What do you mean?
It's Adrian Peterson was that way too, where like Adrian, like you would get a glimpse of him just like over top of other people, and it would be an immediate mob of like, oh, there's Adrian Peterson over there, and it's just like boom, just like a big fucking mob scene around him. They used to have his own golf cart where they would just cart him like back and forth because he couldn't stop, because like you said, if he stopped to sign an autograph for a kid, that's it. He's just mobbed by.
That's game
He was
over.
just mobbed by people. Yeah.
Him and Randy Moss are my two big ones. I mean, I want Chris Carter and a couple other guys, maybe JJ too now, but him and
I check their
Randy
autographs
Moss,
on eBay, and they never come down.
they never
enough.
go down.
They never go down enough to where I want to pull the trigger on one. I was looking at a full-sized replica Adam Thielen helmet with a real nice signature on the side of it. It's going for, I don't know, like $300, which is a pretty good deal. That's about what the helmet will cost you. I should have bought it. I should have bought that one.
I bought one I have a full-size Kirk signed one, and it was $400. I thought that was decent because I'm like,
that's good.
I don't like Kirk, but it's a good deal for what that is. But yeah, Adrian Peterson, Randy Moss, those are like $600-700. I'm like, nope. I can't take away my car payment or part of my mortgage for this. I'm sorry, guys. But anyways, we'll wrap it up. Thank you for listening to the Super Bowl recap. Chiefs are champs again, back to back. Haven't done that since the Patriots. So, man, what a year. Saddest week in football and as a fan, because now we have to wait for the draft, which is about 2 months away.
Nah, man, it's a good day to be a Vikings fan. We're undefeated on the season right now.
That's true. That's so true. Undefeated right now. You can't tell me otherwise. Good job, Kyle. Yeah, go like and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you consume this nonsense that we talk about. We appreciate you all in the chat. Shout out to David. Shout out to Wes. Thank you guys for jumping in. Thomas was in here earlier. We love you guys. Thank you for helping keep the conversation going and bringing up interesting points. Your miniature. There we go. You're miniature producers for us on this show, so we appreciate it. Just hit the notification bell on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. Whenever you do that, I schedule these ahead of time. You'll get a notification, so you'll know what day and time we're going to go live for everything. But I'm done traveling. We should be back on a week plugging and promoting and get out of here. Go to thevikingage.com and look for any articles by Adam Carlson. They will generate revenue for him every time you click on them. Now you don't even have to sign in or leave comments like you used to be able to. They took that away. You literally just click on the article, go through whatever drop downs they have, and it's wonderful. You could follow Adam's work at the Viking Age or on social media at MN Viking Zombie, Minnesota Viking Zombie. Adam Carlson, check him out. you can find Kyle West's stuff here, and I'll let him talk about it for a little bit.
Vaguely Square over on Blue Sky. We're getting warmer weather coming up, so I'm going to be getting back into doing some more photography work. So give me a follow, and that's my cheap plug for the week. Keep it short since we're going long.
Absolutely. You can buy his stuff too here at kylewest84.picfair.com. He has great photography work, and if you go to his Redbubble account, which I'll let you Google and find, it's not hard to find, you can get Purple People Podcast merch and gear. To the survival winners, I haven't forgotten about you. It's tough right now. I'm paying a mortgage and I'm paying rent, and I'm trying to get those out to you hopefully within the next week. So just bear with me if you're watching. I'll get your Purple People Podcast swag to you here really soon. Here's my handle at NC Dog Dude. If you want to follow me on Instagram or X, I am on there, and we can talk whatever. Adam's not here. He had to bounce, so I'll take his words and end the show. Thank you all for watching. Come back next week. We'll figure out something to talk about Vikings related. Until then, stay classy.